Órale, my locos. We're going live. This is OG Loco, the original gangster. So today, I'm going to break down OG Loco Brindle Belle's pedigree and her genetics and get into a little bit about why I think the Mayday blood clicked, or actually the Melcamp Michael Myers blood clicked with the OG Loco Old Family Red blood. And we'll get a little into that. I want to give some time for people to load up because we're going to get deep into genetics and pedigree and what constitutes pure. You know, at what point does a dog become a pure family? And sort of get into that. So let's see. This is OG Loco's Brindle Belle. She is sired by OG Loco Güero Loco out of OG Loco Jacob's Cajun Belle. She was born October 6, 2024. She just turned a year old. She is a red brindle with a white chest. And this is her 4-generation pedigree. So I want to talk about her pedigree real quick before we break it down and get into the genetics part of it. So her sire, OG Güero Loco, is by Melcamp's Michael Myers out of OG Loco's Jinx. Michael Myers was by Melcamp's Lynch out of Melcamp's Sonora. Melcamp's Lynch was by Chico Lopez's Damien out of REK Southern's Lady Doll. Melcamp's Sonora was by Melcamp's and John Ness 90s Ice Cream out of REK Southern's Lady Doll. So Michael Myers was lime bred Lady Doll. So that's what he genetically is. The rest of the blood in her pedigree is pure OG Loco Old Family Red. So we have Jinx, who is the dam of Güero Loco, was by OG Ruger. Bred to his mom, Ellison's No Bones About It. So Jinx was an inbreeding back on the dam side. So we tightened that blood up. Ruger was by OG Bull out of Ellison's No Bones About It. On the bottom side, Cajun Belle was by Jacobs Morris's Little Rusty out of OG Loco's Belladonna. Belladonna is a litter mate to OG Scooby. Little Rusty was by OG's Ruger, bred to Morris's OG Loco's Cleo. Ruger was by OG Bull, Ellison's No Bones About It. Cleo was by OG Bull, bred back to his daughter, OG Loco's Lulu. Lulu was a litter mate to Ruger. So we have two litter mates. We got Ruger and we got Lulu. Double bred Lulu, double bred Ruger. Belladonna was by OG Loco's Jew, again by OG Bull, bred to his daughter OG Loco's Lulu. OG Jew was a litter mate to Morris's Cleo. So they were litter mates. Belladonna's dam was by De Los Angeles's OG Loco's Delilah, who was by OG Kratos, bred to his litter mate sister Stort's OG Loco's Bella. So this pedigree, in 4 generations, you have 4 litter mates. You got OG Kratos, Stort's Bella, OG Loco's Lulu 2 times, and you got OG Ruger 2 times. They were all litter mates. That makes up Brindle Belle's pedigree. So she basically, the way we classify her is you look at the pedigree. In the 2nd generation, there's 4 dogs. 3 of these dogs are pure OG Loco dogs. Jinx, Little Rusty, and Belladonna. One of them was the outcross, Malcolm's Michael Myers. This makes it 3/4 Old Family Red, 1/4 Michael Myers, which Michael Myers was line bred Mayday Grand Champion Buck. So this is really where we get into when I start defining what percentage of this dog has the out. When you move to the 3rd generation, you have 8 dogs. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have 6 of the 8 are pure OG Loco dogs. 2 of the 8 are the outcross on the Michael Myers blood. And then you do the same thing on the 5th generation, but this time you have 16 dogs. So you would say 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 16 dogs are the outcross, and 12 of the 16 dogs are the pure OG Loco blood. But for the sake of fractions, we call it 3/4 Old Family Red, 1/4 Michael Myers or Mayday blood as the outcross in the 2nd generation. So that gives you an idea of how this dog is bred. Then I come back up here. I look at how many times in the pedigree statistic. Basically, she's 4 times OG Bull in 4 generations. 3 times Ellison No Bones About It in 4 generations. And then 2 times OG Ruger in 4 generations. And 2 times Lady Doll in 4 generations. So that gives you an idea how Brindle Belle is bred in 4 generations. Then I come up here and I do expand and I do analysis pedigree. And this breaks down her 10 generations, and this will show me how she's family bred and what dogs in her genetics are influencing her family and what dogs does she pull most of her genes from. So this is something new on this database that just came up, and I want to read this because I hadn't seen this before. It says, this is a 10-generation pit bull pedigree with an overall inbreeding coefficient of 15.62% and ancestor loss of 14.76%. The coefficient is elevated, which points to a noticeable level of line breeding in the pedigree. The ancestor loss value is low, which confirms that many of the ancestors are repeated and the genetic base is narrow. There are smaller but still noticeable traces of red boy line, around 4.3% of the total blood, and smaller but noticeable traces of bolio line, around 2% of the total blood. And there's still but a noticeable trace of tombstone, around 1.2% of the blood, in 10 generations. So this gives you the breakdown. Red boy is 4.3% of Brindle Belle, He shows up 22 times in 10 generations. Bolio is 2% of her blood. He shows up 15 times in 10 generations. And Tombstone is 1.2% of her blood. He shows up 12 times in 10 generations. That's her out. Okay, so she's pretty much, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She's about 8% out and 92% pure Old Family Red, with the 8% being Red Boy, Bolio, Tombstone. Those would be the outs. Then when I want to look further, I hit Total Count and I sort. And that sorts on the highest concentration of dogs in her 10 generation. In 10 generation, she's 84 times Wilder's Red Satan, who was a pure Hemphill Old Family Red-Nosed dog. Second place is OG Loco's 44 Magnum, who's 44 times. And then all this is all blood behind Magnum. And I want to find the first out. So Patrick's Red Baby is the first out 20 times in 10 generations. So that's the out. Then Teal's Jeff is 17 times. That's the other out. And then Chavez's Jocko 16 times. That's your other out. So that tells you pretty much he's predominantly a pure Old Family Red Nose with a slight out in 10 generations. So one of the things why I felt the Melkamp Michael Myers blood clicked. My dogs pretty much are Wilder Red Satan 84 times, which is pure Hemphill. And they have Klaus in them. So where do we find Klaus? 44 Magnum actually was a heavy Klaus bred dog. So he shows up 44 times. But if you go down to the first Klaus dog behind 44 Magnum, Klaus's Bell Star 3 times. So Bell Star, Red Bomber, and Klaus's Vic. They'll show up 3 times in Brindle Belle's pedigree. But the one dog that I feel brings the OG Loco blood together with the Melkamp Michael Myers blood is Patrick's Goldie. And let me find Patrick's Goldie. Patrick's Daisy, Patrick's Boney Maroney, Patrick's Lady in Red, Patrick's Tuffy, where is Goldie? I saw her earlier. Patrick's Little Tater, Patrick's Bullboy Bob, Patrick's Indian Bolio, Patrick's Red Baby. Goldie is her mom. Okay, now we gotta scroll down again. I saw Goldie earlier. So, Patrick's Red Baby 20 times. There he is. Patrick's Goldie, 8 times. So Patrick's Goldie, I'm going to pull up her pedigree. She's 8 times in OG Loco's, in Melcat Michael Myers blood. Because I don't have Patrick blood in my pure OG Loco blood. But I believe it's Patrick's Goldie genes that are clicking with my blood. And let's look at her pedigree. Patrick's Goldie was by Geltis Bosco out of Creed Susie. When you look at her breeding, she is 3 times Klaus's Stabber. She has an out on Skaggs Firefly, which was a pure Hemphill O Family Red Nose. And she has an out on the Tacoma blood. That was game staff blood. So what people don't realize, prior to 1975, a lot of pit bulls were dual registered with the AKC, UKC, and sometimes triple registered with ADBA. But many of those Amstaffs were matched. They were matched in the fast lane. Tacoma was one of them. It was an Amstaff line that actually competed in the fast lane against pit bulls and had some champions. But behind that blood, it's the same blood. It's the Leitner blood. When you get far back enough in those Tacoma dogs, you start to see where they came from. A lot of the Feely blood, that's the old Bruce blood, Feely, old Colby stuff here, Clark's blood, Feely, Corvino, a lot of Feely, more Feely, Bruce's Jerry, Corvino. Shorty was, I believe, the grandfather to Tudor's Daibo. Again, more Feely. So when you look at some of this old blood back in the day, it was considered game Amstaff blood because they were matching those dogs prior to 1975, which is, I believe, the only reason it was used as an outcross on the Klaus dogs. So basically, Goldie, I don't know, do you call her a pure stabber dog? It's pretty close, 1, 2, 3 times. She has 2 outs. So, a small out on Hemphill, pure Hemphill Family Red, small out on the Tacoma blood. But it's that Klaus Stabber and this Hemphill blood that I believe is clicking with my OG Loco blood. And I'll show you why. So if we go back to Brindle Belle, and let's see if we can find King's Jack, Kipling Serona Cohor, or Serona Motorhead. Here's King's Jack. She was 16 times. She is 16 times King's Jack. So let's pull up King's Jack's pedigree. King's Jack was Motorhead. Was Kipling Serona Cohor, was a Motorhead. He's a Hemphill Klaus dog. Out of a Colby Heinzel dog, which is Fonseca's Pincher. This is all Colby Heinzel blood right here. So if we look at Motorhead's pedigree, this is what I think is clicking with Goldie. When you look at his sire, this is all pure Hemphill on the bottom. Hemphill Klaus on the bottom. But when you look at his sire, Tartner's Heck. 1, 2, 3, 4 times Klaus Stabber. Skaggs Firefly 2 times. It's the Tartner's Heck blood in the 44 Magnum dog that I believe's clicking with the Klaus Stabber and Skaggs Firefly blood in Patrick Scoldy. Except Partner's Heck is actually better bred than Patrick Scoldy. He's tighter on the Klaus and Hemphill blood. So that's where I think the common, why it's clicking, in my opinion. Why I feel the Patrick Scoldy blood in Michael Myers is clicking with the OG Loco Old Family Red blood, and it's this Klaus Stabber, Skaggs Firefly blood that's common in both of them. So when we go back to her pedigree, let's look at the highest concentration of blood in her. Wilder's Red Satan. She's 84 times Wilder's Red Satan. Wilder's Red Satan was a pure Hemphill dog. Line bred Hemphill Geronimo 2. Wilder's Flame was by Geronimo Red Dixie. So they were litter mates. Geronimo 2 and Wilder's Flame were litter mates. And then he was bred to Spearman Scarlet Lady, again another litter mate. So these are all litter mates. Geronimo 2, Wilder's Flame, and Scarlet Lady were all litter mates by Hemphill Geronimo and Red Dixie, making Wilder's Red Satan the last pure Hemphill Old Family Red-Nosed dog. Very tightly bred. And when you go to his 8 generations, this gives you an idea what genetics were highly concentrated on him. He was 104 times Hemphill's Flame, 96 times Ferguson Centipede, and 96 times Harvey's Red Devil. But the one that's getting me is Hemphill's Flame. Let's see how she was bred. Hemphill's Flame was by Ferguson Centipede out of Clark's Maid. This is all old family red-nosed dogs. So these dogs are line-bred Leitner's Vic. So heavy on the Leitner's Vic dog with the Harvey's Red Devil out. Okay, so you have line-bred Harvey's Red Devil and line-bred Leitner's Vic. That made up the pure Hemphill Old Family Red-Nosed dogs. That was what he line-bred off of. And Wilder's Red Satan was 104 times Hemphill's Flame. So that gives you an idea of what made up Wilder's Red Satan, which he was 104 times Red Flame, pure Hemphill, blood, breeding, Old Family Red-Nosed breeding. And Cajun Belle was 84 is 84 times Wilder's Red Satan. So that's a direct link to the pure Hemphill blood, back to the pure Centipede, Leitner Vic, Harvey Red Devil blood. So that's what is in Brindle Belle's pedigree. But I want to now talk about the Michael Myers blood, because there's a reason the Michael Myers blood is clicking with my pure OG Loco blood. Because when you look at Brindle Belle's pedigree, 3/4 of it is all the same dogs. It's pure. I mean, these are all related dogs off of OG Bull and Else and No Bones About It for 4 generations. So that is very tight breeding, so I needed the out. And the out, you always want to use an out that has a distant cousin. They could be distant cousins. Still has similar ancestors, but it's not as tight. It's not as up close. So when we look at Michael Myers, which is the out in Brindle Belle, he is double bred Lady Doll. Lady Doll was off a brother-sister breeding of Mayday to his littermate sister, Dragon Lady. So this becomes pure Mayday. Lady Doll's pure Mayday now, or pure yellow dolly. Pure yellow dolly, actually, if you want to say that. Lady Doll was off a brother-sister breeding off of Tance Yellow and Hollingsworth Dolly. And Michael Myers is double-bred Lady Doll. So that's a pure line. Now they outcross Lady Doll on Chico Lopez's Damien. Again, another dose of Mayday. But this is where they use the Grand Champion Buck out off Stone City's Blondie. So let's look at Blondie. Blondie was by Grand Champion Buck, was pretty much a pure Tombstone Bolio dog. And there's Patrick's Goldie. Okay, so Patrick's Goldie. Grand Champion Buck was double-bred Goldie, line-bred Goldie, which is the Klaus with the Skaggs Firefly that's clicking with the 44 Magnum blood that has the Serona Motorhead Tartner's Heck blood. So that's all the same blood. Patrick's Goldie. On the bottom side, he is yellow out of Tance Goldie, which let's look at Awesome Baby. So Awesome Baby gives you the pure red boy again with the Jocko out. And then you got the yellow again with the red boy Jocko on the bottom. So pretty much she's a red boy Jocko dog. Pure red boy Jocko dog. Fairly tightly bred. Here was one. I got into a discussion yesterday with a good guy. We were just talking genetics, and he got me thinking. And I always love when someone gets me thinking. So what he said was, Yellow John was a pure red boy dog. I think everyone agrees. Yellow John was a pure red boy dog. But what we were talking about, what constitutes pure? When does a dog become pure? Its own line. And if you go back to, some of my dogs are like 7/8 Old Family Red, 1/8 Mayday now, or Michael Myers now. Pretty tight. And in the next generation, they're going to be 15/16 pure Old Family Red, 1/16 out on the Michael Myers when I do my breedings next year. So at what point do my dogs become pure? At what point do my Mayday Old Family Red dogs become pure? And Yellow John was a good discussion on that. So he was saying, well, Yellow John's a pure red boy dog. He's by red boy, out of a daughter of red boy, out of an inbred daughter of red boy. He's 3 times red boy. One of the purest red boy dogs. I think we all agreed. But I said, but he has a 1/16 out on Bass Cleo. Bass Cleo was not pure red boy. So Yellow John really is 15/16 red boy, or Teal's Sarge, or whatever, however you want to call it, Teal's Jeff. But 15/16, no, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7/8 red boy, 1/8 Bass Cleo. That's exactly what I have in OG Loco's Dora right now. She is 7/8 Old Family Red, 1/8 Melcamp Michael Myers. So Bass Cleo is the 1/8 out in Yellow John, and she has no red boy blood. She again is double bred Ross Red Devil and line bred Colby's Dime. Okay, that's what Bass's Cleo was. She was pretty much a Colby Red Devil line bred dog. She has 2 outs. Let's see, Sparks Birth. I believe that's a Colby dog. Yeah, that's all Colby blood. You got some Williams back in here, which is Old Family Red. But pretty much Colby on top with, so Sparks Yippee. What does she have? More Williams blood. So we're getting really old blood in there. So that becomes the out on Bass Cleo. She's pretty much a Ross Red Devil Colby dog. The other out is Sparks Bertha. Sparks Bertha, again, heavy Colby bred dog. So when you look at Bass's Cleo, I would call her, well, let's look at this Heinzel blood before we do that. Leonard's Buster. Again, more Colby Dime, some Neblet blood in there. Okay, again, heavily Colby blood. So when you look at Bass Cleo is, in my opinion, a line-bred Ross Red Devil, almost three-quarter Colby Dime blood with the Ross Red Devil out, but heavily line-bred Ross Red Devil and Colby Dime. Probably heavier on the Colby Dime blood. She is the 1/8 out on Yellow John. Okay, Yellow John's considered a pure red boy dog, and some have said the purest red boy dog that was ever bred. I don't know that, but that's what some claim. But he had the 1/8 out on the Ross Red Devil and the Colby blood. So if we're going to say Yellow John is a pure red boy dog, then I got to say anything that's a 1/8 out in the pedigree is considered pure. So I would have to, if I'm going to use the same analogy, then my 7/8 Old Family Red 1/8 out on the Malcolm Micro Myers would be bred exactly like Yellow John is, even though Dora has a 1/8 out on the Michael Myers blood, she would be considered pure because she's so tightly bred. And that sort of makes sense when you look at Bob Hemphill's old advertisements. He bred pure Old Family Red dogs, which were pretty much Leitner Vic, Harvey Red Devil dogs, which were the old Leitner Colby dogs. He bred those for years. Toward the end of his breeding career, he needed to add new blood. So he used Trahan's Rascal, and he used his half brother Tudor's Diabo to blend those genes into his old Leitner dogs. By 1960s, he was advertising that his pure Old Family Reds now carry a 1/8, 1/16 out on Tudor Diabo blood, and that's he published that, and he says why he did it. It was to add more mouth and ruggedness. But he was also calling them pure Old Family Red Noses. He was not calling them crosses, because at 1/8 out, 1/16 out, they're pure again. Anything less is still considered a cross. A 50-50 dog is a cross. I mean, two separate families brought together, no common ancestors. If you breed back into one side of the family, say you breed back into the old family, and you create a 3/4 Old Family, 1/4 out, like Brindle Belle, now you're breeding back out. She only has a 1/4 out, not really pure, still has a good shot of out in her. But if I breed that back into my pure stuff, like Dora, and I create the 7/8, 1/8, well, that's considered pretty a pure dog at that point. This is my opinion. That's just an analogy, and I have to use that. If we're going to call Yellow John a pure red boy dog, then Dora is a pure Old Family Red now with the 1/8 out, because Yellow John had the 1/8 out on Bass Cleo. But here was the other thing, before I get off Yellow John, that caught my eye. They were saying, let's go to yellow. It was actually yellow. Tense Yellow. It was Tense Yellow's pedigree. Well, Tense Yellow, they were saying, well, he's a 50-50 dog. He is a pure red boy bred to a pure Jocko, which created Tance Yellow. This is where the red boy Jocko family started. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. Again, Yellow being 3 times red boy with the 1 out on Bass Cleo. At this point, that would make Yellow a 1/16 out of Bass Cleo. And then Miss Jocko was inbred Jocko with the 1 out on Chavis's Sassy Mead. Chavis's Sassy Mead was related to Bass's Cleo. Let's pull up his pedigree. I think that's where it was. Sassy Mead actually was red boy. That's what it was, with the Lonzo. Dual bred on the Lonzo Andy, which was the Tudor Daibo out. So, she had red boy in her. That's what we were talking about. So, Yellow is not truly a 50-50 dog. He was 50% red boy on top, and he was 1/16 red boy on bottom, which would make him heavier on the red boy blood. You would add 1/16 to 50. I think that makes it not quite 7/8, but maybe 5/8. Might be 5/8 red boy. Quarter out on the Jocko blood. But here's the other interesting thing, and I know I'm diversing a little, but this is breaking down Michael Myers' blood. Jocko was pretty much a Tuber Daibo's dog. Lonzo's Andy. See Lonzo's Andy here? All this Mayfield blood, this bottom side, if we go 8 generations, you'll see the Daibo blood. Here it is. 1, 2, 3, Daibo, 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 heavy Daibo dog. Daibo. But all this Williams blood, Sarge, is all old family red. All this Williams Sarge blood is all off the Hanson's Amber Girl. That's all pure old family red blood. So basically it becomes an old family red Daibo dog. But what I caught when you look at, here's all that Williams stuff, the D. Cordova stuff, was the Lonzo blood in, he had Lonzo's Andy, Jocko did, is the same blood that is in Chavis's Sassy Mead. Sassy Mead was Lonzo Andy 3 times. So she was Lonzo's Andy bred to Chavis's Red Boy Jr., which was Red Boy bred to Bass's Cleo. Okay, so that Bass Cleo again is the 8th out on Yellow John. And you got Lonzo's Andy. So when you look at Yellow's pedigree, basically pure red boy on top with the out on Bass's Cleo, to an inbred Jocko, which is basically a Tudor Daibo family red dog, with an out on Sassy Mead, which is basically a red boy Lonzo Andy dog. It's all the same blood, blended differently and brought back together in Grand Champion Yellow. That's what we were getting at. And I believe it was Cleo. Where did I see Cleo's siblings? I thought I saw a dog that was double Cleo bred. Or maybe it was Cat. Cat. Might be Cat. So Cat was a litter mate to Chavis's Red Boy Jr. That's what the common ancestors were. And then littermate to Marlowe's Brandy Girl. They were all littermates. And you see by breeding Miss Jocko, which is a Chavez Red Boy Jr. and Cat, were littermates in Grand Champion Yellow's pedigree. So that's where I saw it. Bass's Cat and Chavez's Red Boy Jr. are littermates. So going back to why the Melkamp Michael Myers blood clicked. I believe it's the Patrick's Goldie blood in Michael Myers. And let's see how many times Goldie shows up in Michael Myers. So Michael Myers, okay, 10 generation pedigree with an overall inbreeding coefficient of 30% and an ancestor loss of 13%. The Red Boy line has a dominant influence in this pedigree, about 22% of the blood. 57 occurrences from generation 6 to 10. The Bolio line has a dominant influence with around 15.4% and 63 occurrences in 6 to 10 generations. There is a clear influence of Tombstone, about 7.6% and 30 occurrences. There is a smaller but still noticeable traces of Carver blood, about 2.6%. So this is the breakdown. Red Boy 22%, Bolio 15%, Tombstone 7.6%, and Carver 2.6%. That is the out. Basically, Michael Myers becomes a Red Boy, Bolio, Tombstone, Carver dog. That's the way I would classify him. In 10 generations. Those are the dominant genetics in Michael Myers. When you go to a total count, 63 times Indian Bolio, 62 times Teal's Jeff, 57 times Ross Red Devil. But where's the Patrick's Goldies? So you got 38 times Red Baby. There it is. 32 times Goldie. And that's what I was speaking about earlier. The Patrick's Goldie blood, which is the Hemphill Klaus, heavy on the stabber blood with the Skaggs Firefly out, is the same blood that's in my 44 Magnum dogs through Serona Motorhead, Tartanar's Heck blood, which was pretty much some of the tightest Klaus stabber blood with the Skaggs Firefly that I've been able to find. So, my opinion, that's why it's clicking. It's that Klaus stabber, Skaggs Firefly blood that's in both Michael Myers and the OG Loco O Family Reds that's clicking. So I just wanted to break that down. It was something that I had noticed in the crosses. So if you go back to OG Loco Brindle Belle's pedigree again, 4 generations of pure OG Loco blood, pretty much very tight on the Hemphill Klaus, Hemphill Wilder blood. With the outcross of Michael Myers, which brings the Patrick, the Red Boy Tombstone Bolio, high concentrations of that in the genes, with the common ancestors clicking on the Patrick's Goldie, Klaus Stabber, Skaggs Firefly, Old Family Red Nose blood, and both the OG Loco, Old Family Reds, and Michael Myers. And that's why I believe those genes lined up. And that's why those dogs are clicking, and that's why those dogs are working. So when I breed Brindle Belle next year to Crazy Horse, Okay, that's the plan right now. Take her to Crazy Horse. She becomes 7/8. Those pups will be 7/8 Old Family Red and 1/8 Michael Myers out. Pretty much a pure dog like Yellow John, being a red boy. Just a 1/8 out now. And then the thinking is taking a female off this breeding and breeding back to Crazy Horse's brother Scarface, which then would make the Michael Myers a 1/16 out in those pups. And that's pretty much pure again. But I believe at 1/8 out, it's a pure dog, similar to the way the red boy dogs are bred. And the reason I think my dogs are getting hotter and hotter is, one, I use proven dogs, and two, they're bred very tight like the red boy dogs. So I think when you start breeding tight genes on proven dogs, game dogs, they just get hotter, because I'm seeing my dogs a lot hotter than they were 10, 15 years ago. But anyway, I just wanted to present that. OG Loco's Brindle Belle. That's her pedigree. All my Mayday Old Family Reds are pretty much bred just like her. They're going to be all this pure OG Loco blood with the Michael Myers out. I did, they're all just pretty much, so it's becoming its own pure line. So as I keep breeding back into my family, it's just purifying the blood, and it's reducing the percentage of out on Michael Myers. And then I have to keep them working, I have to go back in and add new blood to it. Because once you get too tight, it becomes brood stock. So you got to add new genes back to the gene pool to keep it working. And then you start the process all over again. Breed back into your family till that out becomes insignificant, and then you do it all over again. So just to show, let's see. Let me show you how my outs are going to look in the next year or two before I get off this. So we took Wedo's sister, Crazy Angel, and she was bred to BCK's Little Mayday. So my pup now is Trixie. Okay? So Trixie now becomes my out, but it's very similarly bred. So we have the bottom side, which is the old OG Loco Old Family Red with the Michael Myers that we just did, but we bred the other way and doubled up on the Michael Myers. So now it's still the same family, but it's going toward the Michael Myers blood versus the Old Family Red blood. The out that she brings is the Snake Horns Jocko blood. So this is where the Barracuda blood comes into play. Still Mayday. So still a good shot of Mayday that is clicks with the Mayday blood that's in Michael Myers. But that'll be my out. So the thinking with Trixie is to breed her back to her uncle, which is OG Wedo Loco. Okay, that'll give me a little genetic diversity to breed into my pures, but it's all on the same family tree off the OG Loco Michael Myers blood. So because I'm creating, I'm still going to have a pure OG Loco blood with no outs. I'm going to be having a pure Michael Myers OG Loco family in the next 2 generations, with only the 1/8, 1/16 out on Michael Myers. And then she has the Michael Myers blood with the Barracuda, which is heavy on the Mayday stuff. So all that blood will be blended together. It's all family breeding. It's all consistent. It's all clicking. And that's how we keep the family going. So you'll see me moving in that direction over the next 5 years. Assuming Trixie works out, I think she's going to work out. I mean, Trixie, a game little 3-month-old pup. I already know I'm going to have problems with her. So, just let her be, let her cook, let her mature, and I think she's going to work out. And if she works out, we'll be breeding her to her uncle. So, anyway, I wanted to break that down